Why did they cut down all the giant trees? I mean, Krita Mutwa was talking about how, and they also say dinosaurs needed giant trees to exist at one point,
Success.
and dinosaurs wouldn't be able to exist in the modern world because of the lack of foliage and the lack of big giant trees. You know.
This is the. Hold on. I just had it.
Hmm. I just thought of something. There are theories that dinosaurs coexisted with humans. You go to like South America temples, the ancient temples, the pyramids. Some of them have like dinosaurs, not skeletons, but like depictions of dinosaurs. Like, was it the Stegosaurus or the Triceratops? I want to say. I mean, you get cases in the Congo and Africa a lot of there being prehistoric animals, cryptids, Makulubembe, I think. You know, the long necked dinosaurs. You get like the giant croc ones, the ones with the big fins. I forgot what they're called. They're like giant crocodile species of dinosaurs. I mean, you get giant spiders as well. But it has me thinking, did they do it as a way to get rid of species that don't exist anymore? Giant, large animals, predators? Because it was the only way to sustain their life, right? They needed giant trees to breathe. So when they started cutting down these trees, it's probably started killing a lot of them off, huh?
A lot of people don't realize this, but the world used to be filled with extremely large trees that were much bigger than most of what we have today. And it's not that trees lost this ability. If the forests we have today were allowed to grow undisturbed for thousands of years or so, we would see these giant trees return.
That's insane.
A lot of types of trees, given the right circumstances, will grow to huge proportions.
That's crazy.
But the conditions have to be perfect. Take the redwood, for example.
Yo.
Their range used to extend down into Mexico and as far north as British Columbia and Alaska. But if you plant it anywhere but its specific native conditions, it will grow, but it won't reach nearly as big as they do in California. These redwood and giant sequoia might be the very last of the giant trees, other than a few other pockets of slightly smaller trees dotted across the world. But what happened to all the rest? Why are there almost no more giant forests, when there used to be...
The Devil's Tower, supposedly. In Wyoming. Now, the tale is that a giant bear was chasing them and they climbed it up, and that's why it has all the scratches on the side. It was trying to gnaw up at them, but couldn't climb up. Another thing is it's a petrified tree trunk. Is a theory that a lot of people say. Volcano plug. I never heard of this. Stock theory. Magma. Land. Oh! What the fuck? So you're telling me all that was just land? And over time, I kind of see a volcano. Volcano neck. A plug to volcano.
So many. Europeans first arrived in North America when it was filled with these giant trees. And there's a lot of other areas that used to have giants of their own.
Chuppy.
Europe, the British Isles, Lebanon, North Africa, and many other places still house some remaining giants outside of the California
I'd want to live in a house like that. That'd be so better.
Tasmania has eucalyptus trees over 300 feet tall,
What
as
the
do some
fuck?
parts of mainland Australia. There's a 275-foot tall spruce in the Himalayan region of India. Brazil
Spruce.
has a native tree called Angelime vermilo, the tallest of which is 2.
Isn't there a one tree that's like the location is not told because they're afraid the people would destroy it? It's like the tallest tree in the world, they call it. I don't know if it's in America. I forgot where it is, but they say it's like the tallest tree, tallest or largest organism, pretty much. And they don't give out the location because they fear, like, of course.
290 feet. Borneo, Malaysia, has the tallest tropical tree, reaching up to 330 feet. The tallest Norway spruce is in Slovenia, reaching 220 feet. The Sitka spruce is the tallest in Canada, reaching 322 feet. And there's also the giant cypress in Taiwan, reaching 266 feet. By comparison, though, the tallest redwood is 380 feet tall, estimated between 700 and 800 years old. But scientists say given
older,
enough
I
time,
bet.
these trees could, in theory, reach up to 425 feet, given current.
Credo Mutual talked about the whole Earth. You couldn't see the sky because it was covered in jungle and trees and giant trees that covered the sky. That's the African history of Earth. I thought that was really interesting.
Conditions on Earth, and other species have this.
Avatar. They get into the whole giant trees. Tree of life. But Credo Mutual said like the whole planet was just covered in giant trees to where you couldn't see the sky because of the trees. The Lion King. It's what reminded me of the Lion King tree. Notice how it's the biggest tree in the area? Look at that trunk. A tree lost to history. Or that has so much history and everything is just lost to time. Still standing though.
Potential to grow that big as well, such
That's
as certain
crazy.
cypress species, as well as spruce, Douglas fir, mountain ash, eucalyptus, and others could get pretty close. But conditions need to be perfect, and these trees.
I just realized they look like roots. Roots for the skies and roots for the earth. That's what the leaves and branches look like. So if the roots in the earth collect water, nutrition, the roots in the air collect what was it, carbon? I forgot what it was they collect. Right, the carbon or the CO2, whatever the fuck that is. You know what we exhale, they inhale. With the leaves. It's pretty crazy.
I mentioned that still exist are only small remnants of what used to be. All these areas and more were covered with giants. And to figure out why they were destroyed, we need to look to the old.
And that's why dinosaurs needed giant trees. Because they're exhaling a bunch of the fuck. What was it? What do we exhale? Carbon dioxide. Yeah. Nitrogen. 78 nitrogen. 16 carbon. Nitrogen? carbon dioxide, but we only produce 4. Blah, 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 carbon dioxide. So the bigger animals there are, the bigger trees are going to need to convert a bunch of that carbon dioxide. Now in humans, they said only 4% of our breath is carbon dioxide, 78 nitrogen. Respiration. Okay.
Oldest known story in human history. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, which was found underground in ancient libraries of clay tablets written in cuneiform, we're told Gilgamesh defeated the guardian of the great cedar forest, believed to have been in Lebanon, Humbaba, sent to the forest to guard its massive trees by the god Enlil.
And this is why I think this is where my theory comes into, where they started cutting down these trees as a way to eliminate predators, giant predators. Pretty much make them go extinct. Just remind me of the buffaloes and the Native Americans, how I'm sure the tactic that the Americans used and everything was to kill them all off. Let's just kill off their main source of food, which is the buffalo. Now, I'm not saying, of course, all tribes, don't live in the same areas with buffalo, but like many of them depended on the buffalo for a food source. Shit was insane, look. And the buffalo almost became extinct, as well as Native Americans, which is pretty insane. And many times they hunted them not even for food, but for sport. Faced near extinction in the 19th. Or hide, I mean. For money, of course, to hide, not really for food and habitat loss and government policies. But conservation efforts have helped their population recover. Population declined at the 19th century, and there were estimated about 30 to 75 buffalo roaming the Great Plains. However, by the late, due to extensive causes of decline was primarily driven by commercial hunting for hide, meat, as well as military campaigns aimed at undermining. See? They purposely killed them to fuck the Native Americans by their primary food source. All the railroads, to keep them from crashing into buffalo, breaking their trains. They're going to kill them and just get rid of them in the area. For sport or clear tactics, or to clear tracks. Were essential to the plains of Indian common and spiritual life, providing food, clothing. Stop, bro. Don't go in the trash. Look at this. That's all buffalo skulls. That's insane. Let's go back to the video.
Forest that is almost completely gone today, with the tallest trees only reaching about 150 feet. However, in ancient times, the climate in the region was much more favorable, making the forest massive and the trees colossal. They're described in the Epic of Gilgamesh as tall enough to house a giant, with deep shade and awe-inspiring grandeur. And Gilgamesh and Enkidu went through the forest and picked out the largest and most significant trees to cut down.
Grammarly is an AI tool that goes way beyond spelling and grammar. It helps with the entire writing process, from brainstorming to editing.
Likely using them for building material in their kingdom of Uruk. But why? The story doesn't give a reason, but it's implied this...
That's a line, by the way. The Anunnaki, the Nephilim's offspring, giants. Nephilim offspring, Anunnaki. playing with the lion like it's pet, like a cat. So crazy.
Act as a sort of show of power to the gods. A challenge saying that man can overcome the gods, or at least
There's an Indian epic, right? No, this is the one I'm talking about. The Epic of Gilgamesh. I remember this.
a man such as Gilgamesh may rise up and be equal with the gods. A challenge similar to the later story of Nimrod in the Tower of Babel. This was a common theme across many mythologies. These forests were seen as bridges in many cases. But
the Tower of Babel was being built because at the time everyone spoke the same language. And so everyone was able to share ideas, knowledge, wisdom. So they started building the Tower of Gilgamesh as a way to flex this knowledge and power, like our advanced, intelligence and shit. And God saw this, and he also saw a bunch of like other abominations that were like coming from human beings being able to communicate with each other and share things with each other. Different languages and cultures after the Great Flood, single language and settled in the land of Shinar. They attempted to build a tower that reached the heavens. This act of pride and defiance against God led to their language being confused. What about human pride, disobedience, and the consequences of challenging divinity for humanity and obedience to God's will?
between the realm of the gods and the realm of man. That's why the god and
You notice how they made it rainbow colored? Bunch of the shit, bunch of American cultures, ancient culture, homosexuality, that goes back to, as far as the Greek, and it's human, part of humanity, bro. But the Greeks, they practice it a lot. It was common in many cultures. But who knows what they got into, bro? They were getting into alchemy, probably eugenics at that point too. Alchemy. You get the homunculus. Bro, there's no trash. Come on. Come on. Come on. You hot? Wanna go outside? You do wanna go outside, Chuppy? Give me a sec. Take it. Take it. I'm not gonna grab it. Come on.
Lil wanted so badly to guard it, he sent the most feared giant. These forests in many cases were places the gods could interact with man. Many of the gods across multiple cultures were said to live in forests, as did many other creatures, some of them not so benevolent.
Don't hit me with that. I can't hear you, so can you type? No. You're gonna try to sell me something. What's up? You're lying ass. Take your headphones out. You can turn up the volume. Let's see. You're gone, huh? I don't give a shit. You ain't gonna sell me nothing.
In many cultures, demons lived in the forests. Japan, for example, the Tengu live in the forests and prey upon man. But when you think about it, this makes a lot.
Now it has me thinking. Cities weren't as, advanced, as huge, as big. You get villages, towns. Yeah, you got kingdoms, right? But those were like small pockets. I'm just thinking like it can make a lot more sense how there could be a lot more species that existed at one point. It just was too dangerous. The world must have seemed so much bigger then. Just being surrounded by so much forest, mystery, thick forest. Like a lot of the mythology, cryptids, and everything they go through throughout history could seem plausible. Like they believed many of these creatures, demons, and all that stuff, spirits lived in the forest. I could see how, tearing down a lot of forests could be a way of combating these. And they probably just thought, since we have all this extra wood, let's just start using it to build shit and advance our societies. That's so crazy. I mean, you could see it with modern animals. I mean, you build a city, they all get pushed out. It affects the population of these animals. Many go extinct because we cut down many of their habitat forests.
A lot of sense. On the surface, forests are dark and mysterious, and anything can be lurking around the corner, especially with giant-sized tree trunks everywhere. Bandits, predators, animals, and even possible cryptids could have existed in these ancient forests. But also, these were places you would find sacred psychoactive herbs and mushrooms. They still...
Not just that. People always go to psychedelics and shit. Acting like, oh, this is what made us smart. Intelligent. He said clearly people who never done shrooms, never done acid. You become a dumbass when you're high on these things. You're just tripping out. That's it. You're just tripping out looking at crazy art and shit, bro. You're not smart. You don't become a smart person after taking this shit. If anything, you become kind of crazy. People always think about the medicine. All the medicinal plants lost to overlogging, deforestation. Fucking crazy. Not just that, poisoning the earth, the dirt, the soil. Cities don't have clean soil. They have oil, grime, chemicals, all that shit we, pour down our dirt, drain, all that stuff. Trash, plastics. We poison the dirt, we poison the water, which I'm sure made many of these medicinal plants go extinct. Medicinal herbs, plants, fungus. Crazy. I mean, the reason for many things, the reason we do for many things, could have deeper, dark reasons. For example, the buffalo thing. We can go back to that. Yeah, they overhunted because it was, a food source, not just for the Indians, but for, colonies. You know. But then it could go from, being malicious to we're killing buffalo to kill off the Indians, to, to hurt their numbers as well. Same thing with the forest. Like, we're gonna cut down trees, not because we need the resources, but because we have a threat. We have giant predators we need to get rid of. And same thing with deforestation. Oh, get rid of all these natural, healthy plants that help you get better. I wonder if pharmaceutical companies invest money in logging. Pharmaceutical companies took over medicine. Nutrition, diet is very important part of health, of getting better, of healing. Yet pharmaceutical companies don't want to focus on nutrition and food, and natural sources of medicine. I have a stomach issue. I go to them. I constantly ask, can you give me something like nutritionist, something? And they just brush me off. They're all like, oh, they don't really see it as an important thing, your diet. It's because that's not they're not going to make money like that. They need to sell you drugs, pharmaceuticals, IV medications, injections. It's insane. Shit is crazy. Look at all the drugs they put out that you could, just give yourself a shot and you can still eat what you love to eat. Have all the junk food you want. It's okay. We got medicines now. Yeah, you're going to be suffering for the rest of your life because of these health conditions, but we got medicines. You wouldn't even notice. You just as long as you take this pill, you're never going to feel that pain again. But once you stop, you are going to feel it. Because we're not healing you. We're just numbing you. We're just numbing you. And the problem, it's suppressing it. It's not healing. That's not healing anymore. There's no more healing anymore in medicine. It's just suppressing the symptoms, getting them to as low as possible. There's cures for everything. They just fucking don't do it because money. Oh, fuck, I want to go watch Nipsey Hussle was going to put out the documentary on Dr. Sebi. They say Dr. Sebi got whacked because he was supposedly healing people with a healthy diet. He was healing people with cancers, all kinds of illnesses. And all he did was give them a diet. All he did was help them, inform them on healthy foods. Foods that will help. He said a lot of alkaline foods and everything that would help detox your body and all. And then he died, and then people said, oh, he didn't die natural causes or anything. How did he die? We'll look it up. And then Nipsey was about to put out a documentary on Dr. Sebi. And then he gets killed from complications of pneumonia while in custody, Honduras. Many poisons mimic pneumonia. There are poisons that mimic pneumonia, heart attacks. And doctors just brush it off as that because it's like, oh. The irony, though, huh? Claims to heal cancers and all that stuff, but dies of pneumonia. Never really knew what pneumonia was. Pneumonia, whatever the fuck that's called. An infection that inflames the air sacs, both lungs, which can fill the... Yeah, anti-inflammation was one thing he promoted a lot of it with his diets, Dr. Sebi. Anti-inflammation, cancers, antioxidants, fever, chills, and difficulty breathing. Viruses, bacterial, fungi is classified into types of pneumonia can affect individuals at all ages by a leading cause of infectious death worldwide. Jeez. Crazy.
They'll do this in the Amazon. The ayahuasca vine and the accompanying DMT-containing plant are cultivated deep in the Amazon jungle. The vine growing up and down these giant trees, and the plant growing in its shade. Not only that, but anybody who hunts mushrooms knows the best place to do so is in the forest. Mushrooms thrive on shade, moisture, and dying plant material falling from the canopy. Not only that, but the rarest, most potent, and most unique forms of mushrooms grow only in old-growth forests. And these rare old-growth mushrooms have the potential to cure things like cancer and other diseases, as well as contain psychoactive compounds.
Fucking pharmaceutical companies do not like that. Competition.
In one case, in Northern Europe, shamans consumed mushrooms, known as Amanita muscaria, the one that looks like the Super Mario mushroom or Santa Claus. And they've done so for thousands of years. And the old stories tell of crazy, mind-bending spiritual journeys that the shamans would embark on using these mushrooms. However, people today report that the experience from these mushrooms is actually very mild, and no more psychoactive than a few drinks of alcohol. And many have theorized as to why this is. One idea is that the old shamans knew how to pick these mushrooms in the exact spot, in the exact conditions, and the season to maximize their potency. This may be true, but I think it goes further. You see, unlike most mushrooms, Amanita muscaria live in perfect symbiosis with its host. It does not need to feed off rotting trees like some mushrooms, but it lives with the trees, assisting its growth and defense systems through mycorrhizal fungi. These are the communication systems plants use with each other. They can even transport nutrients to each other.
Fuck, people never really think of that. They communicate with the roots. Communication with roots and
They're
shit.
in the forest through these mushroom root systems called mycorrhizal fungi. So I think it's possible when these forests were much older and much larger and much healthier, these Amanita muscaria mushrooms grew alongside these giant trees and were much, much more potent.
And larger? Makes me think of Skyrim
Possibly
now.
even growing to much larger size.
Was it Oblivion? I think in Oblivion there's a place with giant mushrooms.
Themselves.
Or Skyrim too. I think it's Skyrim.
So is this picture as to why these trees have been destroyed becoming clear? Gilgamesh wanted not only to show the gods his power, but he wanted to sever the bridge between the spirit world and ours. At least that's what these ancient stories tend to say. In many cultures, we have something called the cosmic tree or world tree.
Tree of life.
We
The
find this in
Bible.
the Hindu and Jain mythology with the cosmic banyan tree, Yggdrasil in the Scandinavian. the ceiba tree in Mayan mythology,
Tree of
the
knowledge.
newt tree in Egyptian, the cosmic mango tree in Philippine mythology, and there's others I missed as well. This tree was seen as so large it reached down into the depths of Earth, and its branches could be seen in the sky connecting the heavens to the Earth. But often it was also seen as having a physical representation, being an actual real tree as well. Yggdrasil, for example, with its Germanic equivalent, Irminsul, was said to be the largest tree in Europe, and it was where Odin, or Wotan in the German, hung himself to visit the spiritual realm and gain insight.
What the hell?
Later,
Blood to the
Charlemagne
head?
was said to have destroyed the sacred tree during the Saxon Wars as a show of power of Christianity over paganism. In Hindu and Buddhist traditions, we find stories of the Jambu tree. It's said to be located south of the sacred Mount Meru, the central axis of Earth according to Buddhist cosmology. This area where the tree grows is considered very sacred, a place where its inhabitants have reached enlightenment. The tree is described as so large its shade can cover entire regions.
Of course, he doesn't mention the tree of knowledge, Christianity, but mentions the other horrible thing that Christians did, huh? Now, I have my doubts about modern religion. I don't like it. It's all for money. Everything's for money. All religions do everything for money now. They need to pay bills, taxes, or no, I'm tripping. Religions are tax exempt. They still gotta pay bills, run the lights, the water, staff. You know, money's money. You look at Buddhism now, it's an attraction. It's a tourist attraction. Buddhist temples nowadays. I don't know, it's just crazy how much Christianity gets shit on. And it's like, bro, like everyone was going to war with everyone over religion, money. It wasn't just the Christians doing crazy shit like pillaging, you know? Or like forcing other people to convert. You know, you realize every society, culture has done something like that to other cultures and societies. Because they deem it as like evil or not right. But one thing is, the stories that many of these ancient cultures and everything have are interesting. Instead of dividing religions and saying this one's wrong, this one's right, you know, instead of alienating each other, they should look into each other's history. Because if they do, they start to see a lot of similarities in mythology, cryptozoology. We get into trees, agriculture, all that stuff. It's insane. I could tell this dude doesn't like Christianity. He's just shitting on Christianity. Oh, yeah, look what the Christians did. They cut down the giant trees. But never mentions the tree of knowledge, the Garden of Eden, the Book of Enoch, which gets into these gardens, foliage at the time. Pretty cool stuff. They get into respecting Earth, respecting what God created. There's the whole argument. I hear a lot of Christians say that. Well, God made the earth for us. So we're allowed to mine. We're allowed to cut down the trees. We're allowed to poison the air, the water, the animals with plastics, with poisonous gases, chemicals, fumes. Because God gave it to us. We could do whatever we want with it, right? They didn't realize that human beings created all these chemicals, these machineries, these poisons. It was human beings that created all these poisons, not God. God created the earth, the trees, the plants, the animals, the natural, healthy world. In the book of Enoch, they kind of get into how God's telling us like we need to respect what he created. The knowledge that we have, making weapons, armor, mining, destroying the earth for resources. This all came from the fallen angels, the Nephilim, who taught them pointless knowledge. They didn't need to know how to do all this because God provided everything already. But these fallen angels taught humans, vanity, greed with money, from resources like metals, making weapons, jewelry out of metals. Vanity, warfare came from destroying the earth, collecting the earth. It's just insane. Like these fallen angels taught us unnatural things to do to the earth. I love history. Many people like to ignore it. Many people don't like to look into it. I'm talking about ancient mythology, theology, whatever you want to get into. Religion. Religion is history, bruh. We just like to shrug it off as something, some fairy tale shit people believed in, right? But here's the thing I think. All religions are real. Am I right? Official blue bench. All religions have some truth to them. What I don't agree with is I believe in one true God, and I believe in many false gods. I'm not saying these beings, these entities people worshipped didn't exist. All these beings, they existed. That's why they worshipped them. They were physical beings who like to portray themselves as gods, who want to be worshipped like the one true God, but aren't the one true God. They're just imitators. Fallen angels, divine beings, the ancient gods of Egypt, Greece, South America, North. You can go all over the place. They're real entities. I don't doubt that at all. Something's up. Because too many ancient religions are very similar as well, with many, many very similar stories and figureheads. You get the floods in pretty much a lot of ancient religions. You get the tree of life, the trees in many different religions. You get dragons in many different religions, giants in many different religions, demons, angels in many different religions. They're all connected. They all have some truth to it. Religion was government. It was society. People like to think it doesn't. To this day, people in power have a religion. They worship something. Whether it's themselves, money, another ancient god, Molech, Babel. I can keep going on and on and on. Some of the sick gods they worship. And they like to use Christianity as a front. I believe Christianity is a front Many people like to use Christianity as a front. I stopped wearing my cross. It's all symbolism. That doesn't matter what you wear, what you look like. What's in your heart is what matters. It's all God cares about. What's in your heart. He doesn't care about the cross you're wearing on your neck. He's not going to excuse everything you've done just because you're wearing some cross on your neck, you know? He wants to see your actions, what you do, what you say to other people. To prove that, you know, that you believe in him, right? You can't trick God. You can't trick God with the way you look. You could trick people with how you look and how you're perceived. Can't trick God. He'll look into your heart. You know, people like to think, we look at each other because you got nice things, you got nice clothes, you got nice cars, beautiful women, guys, whatever you're into, you know? People like to equate having good things with being a good person. You got this, this, and that, you must be a good person. You must be doing things right. You must not be a scumbag. Some of the worst people are the richest, most wealthiest, most powerful, most good looking. Some of the worst people in the world are like that. Look at Jeffrey Dahmer, like, was it him? Who did was it Dahmer? No, it was, that one guy. Who did he play? Who was played by, what's his name? Baywatch motherfucker, what's his name? He was played by, fuck, what was his name? Ted Bundy? America, yeah. He's a good looking guy. Could never do anything wrong. Didn't he use the lover boy method to abduct people? I mean, he was good looking. Everyone gawks over him. And you got fucking, what's his name? You got some of the hottest guy in Hollywood playing him. What's his name? How did I forget his name? Zac Efron, bro. You gotta be fucking joking me. They had the most good-looking guy in America, Zac Efron, play the most sadistic, horrible serial killer in American history. Dexter too. I mean, we just love making the bad look good and making the look good look bad. Sick and twisted, bro. Sick and twisted.
And its fruits are as large as elephants, oftentimes falling into rivers and dyeing them purple.
There's a Bible verse, you know, where it says there's gonna be a day where the good is seen as bad and the bad is seen as good. We're living in those times. It's insane, bro.
And making them flow with sweet juice.
So backwards.
In fact, it's believed that before Buddha meditated under the fig tree where he reached enlightenment, he first meditated under the jambu tree. In Mesopotamian traditions, we find the hulapu tree. In one version, the goddess Inanna, or Ishtar, found the hulapu tree growing on the banks of the Euphrates River, and was so impressed by its magnificence and size, she transplanted it to her sacred garden in Uruk. There, the tree grew much larger, but over time it became infested by various creatures, a serpent at its base, a bird in its branches, and the demoness Lilith in its trunk.
Come on.
Inanna seeks the help of Gilgamesh, who comes to her aid and drives the creature away, allowing the tree to be used to craft sacred objects like her throne and bed. There's also a story in Javanese legend about the Upas tree, or tree of death. This was a giant tree said to grow in the tropical regions on a certain island. However, the trees were highly poisonous and would not only take out anyone who tried to collect its sap, but would also render the entire land.
This reminds me of the story of the guy who climbs the tree in Jericho to call out to Jesus.
And they inhabit barren of all other species of plants. The Upas tree legend became very popular among early European explorers to the region. In Chinese mythology, we have the sacred Fusang tree, which was said to be a giant-sized tree that grew on the sacred island of the Eight Immortals, located somewhere to the east of China. This island was said to have huge mountains on it, with the golden temples of the Immortals atop them.
Good video, by the way. I might subscribe to him on my own page. I like it.
It's described as tall and radiant, with branches reaching to the heavens. And it's located where the sun rises, where man practices the original form of Taoism and has reached immortality and enlightenment. The Aztec have a similar sacred tree, the tree of the sun and moon, associated with their sun god and the sun's life-sustaining abilities. There isn't a whole lot of significance of this tree, but it is depicted in several Aztec codices with the branches that connect to the celestial realm above, highlighting its role as a mediator between two worlds.
Looks like a comic book.
To the
Am I tripping?
north in the Yosemite region, the Miwok tradition tells of the Wawana tree. In this tradition, they give us a specific tree, a giant sequoia no less, located in Yosemite National Park. To the natives, it was not just a giant tree, but a symbol of the enduring connection between the Miwok people and the natural world. And they cared for this tree and the surrounding forest with great reverence, as did many other cultures in the region with other trees. It gained fame in the late 19th century and early 20th century as a tourist attraction. It had a tunnel carved through it to allow people to drive through it, which was a common practice at the time to draw visitors to natural wonders. The tree was sometimes referred to as the Wawana Tree Tunnel.
Did it kill
In
it?
the
Or
Miwok tradition, all
still
the giant
lives?
sequoias, like the Wawana tree, were seen as sacred and embodying spiritual power. These trees were considered living ancestors, embodying the strength and resilience of the natural world. They played a role in Miwok ceremonies and stories, symbolizing the connection between the people and their environment. Sadly, the Wawana tree was damaged by a fire and fell in 1969, severing the ties between the spirit world and our world in the eyes of many natives. Further north in Inuit mythology, a creature known as Galskap, a giant figure, is said to have used a gigantic tree for a spear during his battles. While the stories of Galskap vary, some describe the tree he wielded as being of incredible size, stretching across entire landscapes and symbolizing his immense power.
Jeez.
The tree Galskap used is described as being larger than most trees in the natural world. And then of course we have the many stories of the Tree of Life, some of which overlap with these trees mentioned. In the Greek myths, the Tree of Life is the golden apple tree located on the island of Hesperides, far
Christianity,
beyond the
bro.
known world, only accessible to gods and their descendants, guarded by Ladon, the terrible sea serpent. In the Bible, there's a similar story. The Garden of Eden has two trees that are not known to mankind currently, the Tree of Life and the Tree of Knowledge. In the story, after Adam
There's actually multiple different kind of trees and forests. The Book of Enoch gets into it. There's different mountains with different forest trees on it.
and Eve disobeyed
I have to
God's
reread it
command
to
not
really.
eat from the Tree of Knowledge,
I gotta go reread it. Because it can be confusing trying to read shit like that. And trying to picture it in your head, the geology and everything and how it looks.
they are banished from the garden, leaving an angel guardian to keep man from entering, and to keep us from the Tree of Life. Similar to how Humbaba guards the cedar forest in the Epic of Gilgamesh. And the Chinese even say a sea monster guards the sacred island of the Fusang tree. Some have theorized that this sacred land at the end of the world was America. And the trees these stories were referring to were not only the redwoods and the sequoias, but also the giant cypress, giant oaks, giant chestnut, and elm that were growing here when Europeans arrived.
You see, people like this, the fixation with killing. Well, you kill flies, I'm sure. You kill little bugs all the time. So don't get all boo-hoo
Huge
about
trees
it.
the size of which is
Life is
unmatched by
life.
all but
Death is death.
the last remaining redwoods. But they were ordered all to be removed
A
despite
bear?
ancient knowledge of these trees being extremely important to the health of the forest. Instead of sacred areas where gods inhabited and rare medicinal plants and mushrooms grew, they were seen as something to be conquered, much like Gilgamesh saw the Lebanon cedar forest.
Or a deeper meaning. Or trying to get rid of other fucking predators. You know?
The giant trees are the ultimate expression of gods or
It's
those
probably that one dude. It's probably why that one dude cut the tree down. What was it? Who was it? Ignatius, they said? Who was it? The Christian dude? No, it was over here, right? Where was it? It was like somewhere over here, right? What? What? What the fuck? Hmm. Oh.
the gods' power on earth, and became a major symbol of paganism and animism, because these trees were very much alive and fueled the forest, sending nutrients through the fungi, connecting to the plants around it, growing things like ayahuasca vine and magic mushrooms around it. It really seemed like these trees were inhabited by some kind of god or spirit. If
Well,
anything in the
yeah, it was created by God.
environment was alive, other than animals and man, it was these giant trees. Living for thousands of years and contributing to the health of the entire forest around them. Rituals would be done at these sacred giant trees, and special care was taken of them before the Europeans arrived. Luckily, the last remnants of these still exist in California.
I finally got my claim for my car accident. They only offered me $5,000. $5,000? I had a car accident.
But if you've never gotten to go over there and see them, I'd recommend adding it to your bucket list. Pictures do them no justice. Trees are as tall as skyscrapers and make you feel the power of God and nature. The fact that something can live so long and grow so big is incredible. Several redwood forests in California are also petrified in stone. So there's huge expanse.
Yo. It looks like the Devil's Tower. Bro, that's a
forest
trip.
with giant ancient trees turned to stone. Pretty amazing to see in person. You feel like you're in some kind of fairy tale world. Now imagine much of the world is covered in those. That's what Earth was like thousands of years ago. At least the forested regions. It changes our whole perspective on forest-dwelling cultures, and could change the way many plants and mushrooms grew. Even the wood from these old-growth trees is much denser and stronger than normal wood. So maybe the destruction of these forests was only because of the expansion of our modern world. Or maybe someone had an agenda to sever our connection to these sacred spaces and take away our access to the medicinal qualities these trees provide.
The way God naturally intended things to be. It's good and bad, bro. There's a God and the devil. The devil likes to trick us into thinking that we are gods and what we create are from God. It's about self-worship, idolization. It's not about respecting and worshiping what God has created for us. Worshiping God and all that He's created for us. Yeah, I could never agree with that. I always knew like God is respect Earth, Mother Earth is what God created. It just doesn't make sense how like so many Christians could say that it's cool for us to be poisoning the planet. With oils, chemicals, gases, plastics that poison the water, the sand, the earth, the dirt, the air. It just doesn't make sense. Like that doesn't come from God. That comes from human beings. And what we desire. We don't desire anything from God. We only desire what comes from us. People like to blame God for weapons, for making nukes. They like to blame God for drugs, alcohol. Blame human beings. God did not make that. That is not a natural creation of God. It's all human beings and what they've learned. God gives us free will too. We're not slaves of God. But at the same time, there's corruption in the world. There's bad influences, false gods, and idols.